Hello, welcome to my student support system. In today's class of anatomy and physiology, we will discuss about lower respiratory tract. This lecture is in English, and if you want to study in Hindi, just click on I button and you will get link of Hindi lecture. And you can visit my channel also. What is respiratory system? Respiratory system includes the organs which provide the route or pathway for oxygen, which is present in the atmospheric air, to enter into the body, and it also provides the pathway or route for excretion of carbon dioxide. The parts of respiratory system are divided into two main groups: upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. In this lecture, we will discuss about lower respiratory tract. To understand about upper respiratory tract, you can watch the another video. You will get link after clicking on I button. So what is lower respiratory tract? Lower respiratory tract includes trachea, bronchial tree, lungs and pleura. So we will discuss these today. Trachea. Trachea, it is also known as windpipe. It is a tubular pathway for air that is about 12 centimeter long and 2.5 centimeter in diameter. It is located anterior to esophagus and extends from larynx to the superior border of fifth thoracic vertebra, where it divides into right and left pulmonary bronchi. We call it bronchus if we want to say a single bronchus, and plural is bronchi. So it starts from just after the larynx to fifth thoracic vertebra before dividing. So this part is known as trachea. The trachea is composed of three layers of tissue and is held open or patent by 16 to 20 incomplete or C-shaped ring of hyaline cartilage lying one above the other. The rings are incomplete posteriorly. The cartilage are embedded in a sleeve of smooth muscle and connective tissue, which also form the posterior wall where the rings are incomplete. Trachea is lined with ciliated columnar epithelium containing mucus secreting goblet cells. What are the functions of trachea? Number one, support and patency. The tracheal cartilage hold the trachea permanently open or patent, but the soft tissue band which is behind or posteriorly allow flexibility, and we can move the neck easily without obstructing or kinking the trachea. Second is mucociliary escalator. This is the synchronous and regular beating of cilia of mucous membrane lining that waft the mucus with adherent particles upwards and towards the larynx, where it is either swallowed or coughed up. Next function of trachea is cuff reflex. The nerve endings in the larynx, trachea and bronchi are sensitive to irritation. The reflex motor response is deep inspiration followed by closure of epiglottis. The abdominal and respiratory muscle then contract and suddenly the air is released under pressure, expelling the mucus or the foreign material from the mouth, warming and humidifying and filtering of the air. These continue as in the nose, although air is normally saturated and at body temperature when it is reaches to the trachea. Now the next part is bronchial tree. Why we call it a tree? Because its structure is like this. Because it is branched like a tree. The two primary bronchi are formed when the trachea divides at about the level of fifth thoracic vertebra, the right bronchus and the left bronchus. The right bronchus is wider and shorter and more vertical than the left bronchus. It is approximately 2.5 cm long. After entering the right lung at the hilum, it divides into three branches as secondary bronchus. The left bronchus, this is about 5 cm long and narrower than the right one. After entering the lung at the hilum, it divides into three branches, one for each lobe. Two branches, one for each lobe. And this at this level it is known as secondary bronchiole. The bronchiole wall are composed of the same tissue as the trachea and are lined with ciliated columnar epithelium. The primary bronchi progressively subdivide into secondary bronchi, that is for lobes, tertiary bronchi, then to bronchioles, smaller pathway, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, alveolar duct, and finally alveoli. So this divides in this way. Okay, so here it is the picture of left bronchus where it first divides into two secondary bronchus and then tertiary bronchus and then two bronchioles. The wider passages are called conducting airway. So up to here it is conducting airway because it is not allowing exchange of gases. But after that it allows exchange of gases and these are known as respiratory pathway or airway. As the bronchi divide and become progressively smaller, their structure changes to match their function. The bronchi contain cartilage rings like the trachea, but as the airway divides, these rings become very small and at the bronchiolar level, there is no cartilage present in the airway. As the cartilage disappear from the airway walls, it is replaced by smooth muscles. This allows the diameter of airways to be increased or decreased through the action of autonomic nervous system, regulating the airflow within each lung. The ciliated epithelium is gradually replaced by non-ciliated epithelium and then finally simple squamous epithelium. Now we will study about lungs. What is lung? Lung is very lightweight because it is spongy. They are paired and cone-shaped organs lies in the thoracic cavity. They are separated from each other by the heart and other structures in the mediastinum. Mediastinum divides the thoracic cavity into two anatomical distinct chambers. As a result, if trauma causes one lung to collapse, the other may remain be expanded and working. The lungs extend from the diaphragm to just slightly superior to the clavicle and lie against the ribs anteriorly and posteriorly. The broad inferior portion of the lung, or known as base, is concave and fit over the convex area of diaphragm. The narrower superior portion of the lung is known as apex. The surface of the lung that lie against the ribs is known as costal surface and matches the rounded curvature of the ribs. The mediastinal or medial surface of each lung contain a region or area which is known as hilum, through which the bronchi, pulmonary blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerves enter and exit into the lungs. Here you can see these are lungs. Right lung is divided into three lobes and left lung is divided into two lobes. And this is the structure of alveoli. Finally, it is like this. One or two fissures divide each lung into lobes. The left lung have two lobes superior and inferior, while the right lung have three lobes, superior, middle and inferior. Each lobe receives its own secondary or lobar bronchus. So the right primary bronchus give rise to three secondary bronchi, that is superior, middle and inferior secondary or lobar bronchi, and the left primary bronchus give rise to two superior and inferior secondary bronchi or lobar bronchi. Now we come to pleura. What is pleura? Pleura is a covering of the lungs and it is double layered. The pleura consists of a closed sac of serous membrane. It has two layers, the visceral pleura and the parietal pleura. The visceral pleura is adherent to the lungs, covering each lobe and passing into the fissures that separate them. So, this is double layer, and the layer which is attached to the lungs is known as visceral pleura. Here it is in blue color, you can see this is visceral pleura, and the red colored this is parietal pleura, and the space between them is known as pleural cavity. The parietal pleura is adherent to the inside of chest wall and the thoracic surface of the diaphragm. The space between these two layers is called pleural cavity, and this is only potential surface, very less surface area or space, and contain no air. In healthy individual, these two layers are separated by a thin film of serous fluid known as pleural fluid, which allow them to glide over each other while the movement of lungs, preventing friction between them during breathing. The serous fluid is secreted by epithelial cells of the pleural membrane. Now we come to physiology of respiration, how we take respiration. The term respiration means exchange of gases between body cells and the environment. It involves two main processes. Number one, breathing, and number two, exchange of gases. Breathing is the movement of air into and out of the lung, and exchange of gases take place at two levels. One at the lungs level, that is known as external respiration, and at tissue level, that is known as internal respiration. Breathing. Each breath consists of three phases: inspiration, expiration, and pause. What is inspiration? Inspiration or inspiration is the process of taking air inside the lungs. The process of inspiration is active. It needs energy for muscle contraction. Simultaneous contraction of external intercostal muscle and diaphragm help this process. As the lung expand due to the action of these muscles and diaphragm, the air is pulled in the lungs. Expiration. Expiration is the process of forcing air into the outside environment. The process of expiration is passive, means automatically it goes without any muscular action. It does not need energy for the muscle contraction. What happens here? Only relaxation of the muscles, that is external intercostal and diaphragm occurs, and due to elastic recoiling of lungs, it pushes the air which is in the lungs to the outside environment. Next is pause. After the expiration, there is a pause between before starting the next cycle. Now, lung volume and capacity. First is anatomical dead space. In normal quiet breathing, there is about 15 complete respiratory cycles per minute. The lungs and the air passage are never empty, and as the exchange of gases take place only across the walls of alveolar duct and alveoli, the remaining capacity of respiratory passage is called anatomical dead space, which is approximately 150 ml. Second is tidal volume. What is tidal volume? This is the amount of air passing into and out of the lung during each cycle, and it is about 500 ml in rest or normal breathing. Then there is inspiratory reserve volume. This is the extra volume of air that can be inhaled into the lungs during maximal inspiration. Okay, so after normal aspiration, the extra air that goes in, this is known as inspiratory reserve volume. Now, what is expiratory reserve volume? This is the largest volume of air which can be expelled from the lung during maximal expiration. Inspiration capacity. This is the amount of air that can be inspired with maximum effort. It consists of tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. Functional residual capacity. This is the amount of air remaining in the air passage and alveoli at the end of quiet expiration. The functional residual volume also prevents collapse of alveoli on expiration. Residual volume. This cannot be directly measured by the volume of air remaining in lungs after forced expiration. Vital capacity. This is the maximum volume of air which can be moved into or out of the lungs. Total lung capacity. This is the maximum amount of air the lung can hold. In an adult of average build, it is normally around 6 liter. Total lung capacity represents the sum of vital capacity and residual volume. Now, alveolar ventilation. This is the volume of air that move into and out of the alveoli per minute. It is equal to the total volume minus anatomical dead space multiplied by respiratory rate. Here you can understand this by this diagram. This is a graphical representation of lung volumes and capacity. This is tidal volume. This is inspiratory capacity, which includes tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. Then there is maximal expiration. This is vital capacity starting from here. It includes tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume and expiratory reserve volume. And this is total lung capacity, which includes vital capacity and residual volume. Now gas exchange. There are two levels of gas exchange. One is external respiration. This is the exchange of gases by diffusion between alveoli of the lungs and the blood in the alveolar capillaries across the respiratory membrane. Each alveolar wall is one cell thick and very thin and is surrounded by the network of tiny capillaries. The walls of capillaries are also one cell thick. The venous blood arriving at the lungs contain high level of carbon dioxide and low level of oxygen, meaning it is deoxygenated blood. The carbon dioxide diffuses from venous blood down its concentration gradient into the alveoli until the equilibrium with the alveolar air is reached. By the same process, oxygen diffuses from alveoli into the blood. The relatively slow flow of blood through the capillary increases the time available for gas exchange to occur. When the blood leaves the alveolar capillaries, the oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration are in equilibrium with those of the alveolar air. Here you can understand with this diagram. This is alveoli, this is blood vessels. Here this blood vessel contain high level of carbon dioxide which goes into the alveoli, and the oxygen which is in higher concentration in the alveoli goes into the blood vessels. Now Second gas exchange, that is at internal respiration, it is at the level of tissue. This exchange of gases by diffusion between blood in the capillaries and the body cells. The blood arriving at the tissue has oxygenated and saturated with oxygen. This creates concentration gradient between capillary blood and the tissue, and gas exchange occurs. Oxygen diffuses from the bloodstream through capillary wall into the tissue, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the cell into the bloodstream towards the venous end of capillaries. Here you can understand by this picture. This is the wall of capillary. This is RBC and blood, plasma. Then oxygen moves towards tissue or cell, and carbon dioxide moves towards bloodstream and attaches with the RBC as well as in plasma in dissolved form. Thank you for watching such videos. You can subscribe my channel, My Student Support System, like my Facebook page, My Student Support System, and for making your notes and contents, you can visit my blogger mynursingstudents.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and join Nursing Notes Facebook group. Thank you. Have a nice day.